I gotta talk about this because this has been fucking with me since last night. For those of y'all that are not aware, Akira Toriyama, a legendary mangaka and creator of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, character designer for Chrono Trigger, Dragon Quest, a whole bunch of things, has passed away as of March 1st. It was announced to the world last night on Twitter, and I believe at least a couple other mediums, not entirely sure. And I have to talk about this truly because this shit fucked me up, man. This shit has fucked me up like crazy. I was watching a couple streams last night, and in one of them, someone like saw the tweet, brought it over to the screen, and they were like, "Holy shit, Toriyama died!" And I was like, "What the fuck?" 20 seconds after that, I was fighting back tears for the whole night, man. And seeing the outpour of people just showing love for the guy on Twitter and shit is just like, I can't look at anything on the internet right now without seeing his works or his face, and I'm sitting here like, I gotta say something and pay my respects, man. So I just want to talk about that for a little bit, talk about just what that has meant for me and just the broader implications of that for at least me and what that might mean for other people as well. And I'll try to keep it succinct as best as I can, but I did just want to, it's just important as fuck to me, man. So if you're not here for that, feel free to hop out. Hopefully I'll be done within the next 20 minutes or so. Hop back in later on, we'll get to the game, but I gotta talk for a minute. Now, I didn't plan any specific words for this, but I know there's a couple ideas that I do want to touch on, and I think I'll start with this. Media in general, in terms, if you look at like the past, like I guess century or so, you look at movies, TV shows, let alone video games and beyond. I'm talking like early, like every generation, I believe since the start of movies has likely had this experience where you get your movies, you have cultural phenomenons get formed around it, advertisements everywhere, people talking and relating about the movies, just talking their, stories about how, hey, yo, I enjoyed this. I love this. This was awesome. And maybe years later, you have the movie in your memory, you might share it with your children or friends of yours, this, that, and the third, and then eventually you reach the next generation, and that generation does the same thing, and beyond and beyond and beyond. And every generation has to deal with that experience too, where the creators or the actors or it is anybody who participated in that work that they once loved as much as they did passes away, and they have to deal with like, damn, that shit sucks. And I'm 25 now. I've been starting to reach that age. I think it's averaged out where that's starting to happen to me, where people that I may have grew up with in early media that I thought was super important are starting to fall off, for lack of a better term, and not fall off like the way they work, but just they pass away, they go. And it's been really interesting seeing how not only how much that effect translates and gets transcribed over to different people as time goes on, but also how much that's expanded and been dramatically empowered, if that makes any sense. Like if you go to early 1900s, those movies and shit like that, like movies had their cultural impact, but there wasn't anything pushing them outside of their boundaries. People had their movies in the States. They had their movies outside of what, like in their respective countries or their areas or whatever their media was. Like it was relatively contained. Ever since, video game era, internet era, things like that. The amount of reach that people have been able to acquire through just being a creative has become dramatically expanded to the point where a single person can create a single thing and have that thing affect the entire fucking world. And it is creators like that that I have an unspeakable amount of respect for. I cannot put it into words. And Toriyama was one of those. Toriyama was very, very easily one of those people. And there's so many stories around here that everyone's sharing right now where people are talking about how, like, I saw Dragon Ball as a kid. I watched the reruns on Toonami. I would mess around and pretend and do my little Kamehamehas, and I would do all that shit too. And I might talk a little bit about that. I might not, but the point I want to illustrate is just how much power being a creative can have. I mean, it's truly insane, and I think the best way I want to explain it kind of goes like this. I am what you might call, I guess, more of a spiritual person than a religious one. It's kind of hard to put my exact descriptor of that into proper words. I wouldn't know exactly how to properly describe it. And honestly, with the more I understand about myself in that respect, I'm certainly not going to try, because some of y'all niggas would be like, what the fuck? But I'm kind of a kind of person where it's like, I believe people are here for a reason. People do things they do for a reason. If you get hurt, it's for a reason. If you learn a lesson, it's for a reason. If people go, it's for a reason, and it all happens when it's supposed to happen. It's a hard pill for me to swallow, and I'm sure some people might not agree with that idea. They might be going through pain of their own, whether it be to this or something way more immediate in their lives. But I feel like, I don't want to even ascribe it to some sort of direct divine intervention or some person pulling the strings. I just feel like shit happens, and shit's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen in a lot of cases. We can make that as simple or as complicated as we want. And as a little example of what I mean by this, there's some people and there's some situations where, whether or not you notice this or not, or you pay as much attention to it or not, but you ever been in a space where you go into a room, or you go into a mall, or you go into some just area, and you're walking by minding your own business, and maybe somebody walks by, or maybe you see somebody, and something about that person just brightens you up. Maybe they were just smiling, maybe they were just telling a joke. Something about them just elevates you. Even if it's like a tiny bit, you could be having a dog shit day, but because you saw that person just doing their shit or being themselves, it's like, oh wow, I feel a little bit better. For whatever reason. I had this happen to me recently. I was traveling outside of here to take care of some personal business that I really did not want to handle. It was honestly a pretty painful thing that I had to do. And I was driving through this area that I typically don't drive through. Honest to God, I thought it would, when I was younger, I thought it was dangerous to even be in that spot. So I was already just feeling like shit. I was anxious driving where I was, and I was like, there is just no good vibes or energy in the environment that I'm in / passing through right now. And I was trying my best to take my mind off all my other shit, and I was just trying to drive home and make it back. And I was driving, and I saw this little kid, and I saw this kid, and he was just like, I think he was listening to music, and he was just dancing. He was just dancing and bopping to his music, just going the fuck off. And like, I couldn't help but laugh. Like, that shit really just brought me up out of that little mini funk I had. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, truly, thank you. Like, that kid will never know my name. I will likely never see him again in passing, but I was grateful for that moment. People like fucking Akira Toriyama, or I talk about Toby Fox a lot on this channel, but like people, any creator, any person that pours their heart and soul into works like Akira Toriyama has, or like anybody else on his tier, or even aspiring to come a fraction of close to it, they have that same effect, whether they realize it or not, whether it's what they're gunning for or not. But when people sit down and make shit, and they make shit out of pure enjoyment for the sake of doing it, that shit rubs off in ways that is so tremendously fucking powerful that it makes waves. It changes the world. It inspires people to do things, or just settle into just different patterns that might change their day up, might make them feel a little bit better. And up until the age of the internet, we didn't really have a super strong indication of how much power that shit really had. And I use that word power very specifically because it's power. Like, it's, call it spiritual, call it universe, call it whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's power. And I knew, no one could have known that he was going to go as soon as he did, or in the way that he did, or at the moment that he did. But I feel like a lot of people have spoken to the amount of power that this guy has had for so long. and seeing it illustrated in the way that it's been illustrated throughout the past night, people pouring out their stories and just art coming out from all corners of the world and voice actors singing their praises and all this, that, and the third. It's been truly something to see, and I'd be a fool. I'd feel so just out of pocket if I did not just share my piece of how that has impacted me as well, because like it's really insane, man. It really is. There's so much reach you can have with the things that you make, and the extent to which Toriyama did it, the extent to which he had children running around again shooting mini kamehamehas and shit. When I was in middle school, I used to make little comics. And I fell off because I don't even know why I fell off, honest to God. But I had 3 little comics, and one of the things that I would do, I had these gigantic robots made of they were like made of drills, like literally just like a giant grill with like a dome for a head, and someone was piloting the inside of it. And for some fucking reason, I had these drill, like they had a whole ass fucking drill, like they could just do drill things, and they did drill things, but they would also like shoot out little fucking kamehamehas. Or one of my biggest obsessions was the original was it ASDF? Not ASDF, but it was something. The Laser Collection. That was it. The Laser Collection, where they had Dr. Arthur was blah, and the blah was like a kamehameha, and I was like, I don't know, bro. I was obsessed with kamehamehas. I've said it once before on stream. I like shooting kamehamehas, and like the extent to which that work has just brainwormed into so many people in the best way and inspired so much shit in ways that I sure as shit still don't even know. Some of y'all probably don't even know, but like so many cartoons and games and shows have been touched in even the most minute way and influenced by this one guy who was just doing his fucking thing. And I think it's important that we honor that. I think it's really important that we take note of that when it has impact on us, and we remember it as hard as we can, especially in creative spaces like these, where YouTube, Twitch, whatever you want to call it, but like everyone that's on here is trying to make their own thing. People are trying to do things big or promote their own projects or just do something cool. And I think it's important to take people like this and remember just how much of an impact that you can have, or that can be had on you, in so many ways. And it's just insane to see how much that is. And there's so much talk about, you know, the focus that a lot of people are having on this is like, can't believe he's gone. You know, people say real legends never die, and people can have their belief into the actual validity of that or not, in whatever way you want to look at it. You can't be law of energy's conserved. That shit don't go nowhere. And with the amount of energy this person has put out, in the way that he has, that shit ain't going nowhere, man. Toriyama will live fucking forever. I'ma just say it like that. There's just no way he doesn't. There's just no way. And you know, I've had to acknowledge that in some way. In the past year as well. And just speaking to more specifically like my love of Dragon Ball as well. And I think this will be the point where I close this out. I grew up watching Dragon Ball like many others, here and there. OG Dragon Ball, I think I was a kid around the time, because OG Dragon Ball wasn't out here in the States for a good chunk of time. I think it did come out here briefly for like a short period when I was younger. I forget what age I was, I forget what year. But I would remember seeing like clips of like a kid Goku doing Kamehamehas, but I would always catch the reruns like in between. So I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on? I don't know the plot line, but I know Kamehamehas. And I would see them, and then one day, I forget where I got it from. I think my aunt may have just picked up a bin of DVDs or a bin of VHS tapes off of a curb one day. And inside that bin was a Dragon Ball Z tape, and that was my first owned Dragon Ball Z tape piece of media. That was like the penultimate, like the last 5-ish episodes of the Cell saga before Cell dies. It was like right there. And I would rewatch that tape it was the only Dragon Ball media I had. I would rewatch that tape all the time. All the fucking time. And I remember distinctly wanting to see the end of that like sequence. Like I never knew how Cell ended. It was before YouTube was even a thing for real. And I didn't know where I could find it. And didn't have money like that, didn't have access to the internet like that. Whatever. My dad one day, when he was starting his business, he got a BlackBerry. And BlackBerries were just starting to get YouTube capability. And one day he lets me use it. And I had no idea what to even watch on there. I wasn't know, but I knew one thing I wanted to look up. And sure enough, I was able to, for the very first time, see the finale of that beam clash between Gohan and Cell. And from there, I was like, okay, now I know this is accessible. I'm going to watch the rest of this shit one day. Fast forward a bunch of years, Dragon Ball Z Kai comes out. I lose my mind. I watch it all the way through. Dragon Ball Z Abridged, all the way through. That was a whole thing for me as well. In the past year and some change, I've been watching Dragon Ball Z Abridged and OG Dragon Ball with a very important person in my life, and it's just on loop like crazy, like to an insane degree. And I've just developed so much more of an appreciation for the show and for and as an artist too, because I've been trying to learn how to draw and create my own things for the past couple years. For those of y'all that know, like, purpose of this stream for me is not just to stream. Like, this is my platform. Like, I want to eventually make games and bigger projects and others, that, and the third. And this is just the start of that. And so I've been trying to commit myself to learn, like, what goes into creating a world, creating characters, setting themes into these things. And Dragon Ball, going over Dragon Ball this past couple of years has been a gold mine of influence and just so much appreciation I have for it. And it's like, damn, man, it's just insane how much this has fueled me. It's this show, these works, this man has fueled me in ways that, I was never going to fly over to Japan to say thank you to the guy personally. I think he's more of a recluse than Toby Fox is. Believe it or not, he's been doing this shit for 20 years now. Just chilling in the cut with his little persona and mask on, or whatever the case is. But like, it's just insane how much I've been able to learn just from enjoying the thoughts that have come outside of his head. And I will always be a diehard Dragon Ball fan. I shit on Super a lot, but that's only because his hands weren't on it as much as they could have been. But I will always be a Dragon Ball fan. I will always have appreciation for the works of Akira Toriyama. And I've had to say it out loud in this way. So that said, I think that's the majority of what I have to say as far as this. Rest in peace to Akira Toriyama, and rest in power rather, because that nigga ain't going nowhere. He is chilling up there, smoking a cigarette, doing whatever it is he got to do, and I'd be more upset about the actual passing. I think that's the last thing I might want to touch on, is that, like, age 68 is young. No one saw this shit coming. Nobody did. And he was very much intent on continuing to work for a while, 100%, with Dragon Ball Daima and everything like that. But like I said at the start, I think I don't want. Now this is the part where I don't want to say shit happens for a reason, but like, I do think that for things to have happened as the way they did now, I think the one silver lining to all this is that, like, we're able to see, maybe earlier than we all would have liked, but we're able to see just how much power this dude had. And it's truly something wonderful to look at. So I urge everybody that's hearing my voice right now, everybody that has even a slight just inkling of appreciation for the guy, and for anything that he may have produced, or anything that may be derivative of something that he's produced, to go out, make shit of your own. Take this as inspiration. Don't let the energy that he's collected and dispersed and created in all of y'all. Like, don't let that shit go. Don't take this as something to be, you know, hyper sad about. I mean, obviously in the moment, sure, be sad, but if you are at all, but don't let this be, gotta snooze the ads, fuck that. Don't let this be something that deters you from being a creative force of your own. Let it push you forward. Let it be, let his example show you how much impact you can have on people, and do that shit. And I think that's all I got.